Hello, ho, ho, and Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, it is nonetheless Christmas time, so happy Christmas time to you. Whatever you are doing today, wherever you are in the world, I hope you are surrounded by loved ones, friends, family. I hope you've got a roof over your head, nice warmth, some good food to eat, and some good company. And all I really wanted to do was pop up here and say, Happy Christmas, and thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for the support over the past year. If you're a new viewer to the channel, welcome aboard, and I hope you are enjoying the videos that I'm putting out. And that's pretty much it. But that would be a very short Christmas video indeed. And over the last couple of years, I seem to recall I've padded it out a bit. Last year doing, for example, some cookery. I think I made chocolate mousse. Well, you'll be relieved to know there's no more cookery today, but I have got a festive treat for you, a furry festive treat, because over the course of the last few months I've been popping out to visit some of my boating pals who have pets aboard, and I've been asking them what is it like and how practical is it to have a pet on board your boat of various types. And there's nothing more lovely at Christmas time than to watch some little furry bundles of fun. So here they are talking about the realities of pets on board. Happy Christmas. Let's start off by meeting the pets. There's Blue, the Border Collie, owned by Steve and Andy. Rufus, the Labrador Podenco Cross, owned by Amy and Wes, who also care for Rupee, the lion-haired rabbit. Ferrets Tofu and Coco are the playmates of Tara and Ben, and you might already know Munchie and Alice, who own Kath and Anna Marie, formerly of the Narrowboat Experience.
His favourite thing in the whole world is going out on walks and seeing new things. So when we were looking at the continuous cruiser lifestyle, we thought it would actually marry up quite well with him, because pretty much every week he gets a new fresh walk, he gets new smells, new dogs to meet, just new everything. And as far as we can tell, he absolutely loves that.
He's always been an indoor bunny, so even when we had a house, he had his own bedroom, so he's always been very spoiled. So yeah, we knew that he would have enough room, especially being able to come out into the boat whenever he wants. He's got free roam of it, so he's got plenty of room to run around.
Dogs do like small spaces. I mean, mine now is underneath the dinette because he likes to be covered in. You know, he likes to feel secure. He won't travel in a car unless he's in a cage. He's absolutely terrified of a car unless he's in a cage. Then he fully relaxes and goes to sleep. And he probably gets more walks with us on a narrowboat than what your average dog does in a house, I would say.
Me and Ben both think they really enjoy it here, and compared to what they had at the rescue, it was a very small sort of enclosure. They don't really get out much. So now they've got the whole run of the boat, so I think they enjoy it.
Because we already lived in a really small apartment, space wasn't a big issue because they were used to living in a shoebox. So that was fine. And then we looked and went, well, they've got the whole outside. They don't really have any greenery or anything like that in the middle of London, in the city, so it was going to be better for them from that perspective.
A lot of vets actually let you register as a temporary patient, so we can call them up if we're in a local town that there's a vet nearby. We can call them up and say, can we register as a temporary patient? They can check them over, we can get flea and worm in for the pets, they can have their vaccinations as a temporary patient. So that's worked out quite well, and then we just, for the dogs flea and worm in, we just get a 6-month supply, so we only have to worry about that twice a year. And then the other thing is emergency vets, is when we get to a new town or a new mooring spot, one of the first things we do is just check where the nearest vet is, just in case.
I think generally speaking, we try to moor somewhere where there's some sort of address. So if we had to get like a taxi or something, because we need that anyway for things like food shop deliveries. So we're generally quite close to somewhere that we could get to take them, or like bus routes, even if we have to walk a little distance. But I think we've not really found that it's much of a problem as far as we've experienced.
And we do plan on doing like an emergency dog first aid course. Yeah. So if we are in the middle of nowhere, then at least we know the basics before we can get him to a vet's. But yeah, that's something that we want to do.
I think we're quite lucky because we've got an exotic vet really close in Bristol, so they deal with sort of lizards and ferrets and all sorts. So we've got that quite close, and we don't really need to visit the vets that much with them. They're quite easy animals to look after. When we first got them, if they were coughing too much, we'd be like, oh, let's take them to the vets. But now you kind of get used to it, they're fine.
We would make sure that when their jabs were due, that we travelled near a vet so that we could take them to a vet to get their jabs done. If they had any ad hoc health concerns, we just had to look up the nearest vets and hope that they would see us. And we did that a couple of times and it was fine.
And if you are continual cruising, which we were, you ring for a cab. Some cabs won't take pets. So a really good tip is to mention on the phone that you're taking your cat to the vet as well, because you don't want the cab to turn up and then not take you. But it is a consideration to think about.
It's the worry of leaving them. That's the thing. It's, you know, dare I say it, we've seen this week 3 sunken boats. So when you leave your pet, and sometimes you have to leave your pet, you think, is the boat going to be all right with your pet on board? That is a worry. But you would get that in a house, wouldn't you? You would get the same sort of worries. It is a tie. If you're going out for the day and they don't take dogs, you've got to make sure you're back in time for the dog and all that sort of thing.
I think one of the main ones is it just adds something extra to consider when you're leaving the boat. So if we want to go away for a day, we have to consider how the pets are going to be when we're in there, or even overnight. It's a lot harder to get pet sitters on a boat because you have to tell them about the boat and the pet. So we haven't done that yet. So not being able to leave them for long periods of time does add that little extra thing to worry about.
Yeah, and we do have cameras and things set up so that we can keep a close eye on them even if we're just out for the day. But there have been occasions where fireworks have gone off unexpectedly and we have to rush back to the boat, and you just have to cancel all your plans to go and make sure that the boat and the pets are safe. The
trouble that we have had is Coco is a lot more ferret-like than Tofu. We always said if Tofu was in the wild, she would be a rubbish ferret. And so Coco is trying to get everywhere. She learnt quite quickly to jump from the sofa onto the counters. And so obviously in summer that can be a bit of an issue because we've got the hatch open, all the doors open. And one time she did escape through the hatch and walked all around the galleys of the boat and then onto the back of the boat. And our friend, thank God, was on the back of the boat and was like, I think you've lost something. And so that's the only time that they have nearly escaped, but thank God that she didn't just go straight into the water.
They know where all the action is. So they know where the roads are, they know where to head off to cause you the most anxiety. So if you tend to moor up next to a hill that's next to a road, you can bet that they're going to end up on that road. So you've got to be really careful as well and just think, where do I want my cat, if they are going to be going outside, where do I want them to be going outside near? Because they're going to head towards places that are maybe not super safe for them. The trickiest part about cat ownership was when we also had a car, because then you're looking for somewhere close enough to a road to get to your car, but far away enough from a road so the cats don't get hit, you know, if they're in an area that they're not sure of. So it was definitely a major stress.
The particular food Blue is on, it's not a supermarket brand, so we can't go to the supermarket for it. I don't want to change his brand that he's on. All I do is do a simple look up on the phone, find the stockist of his food, and when we're in the area, we just stock up, and we keep it all on the boat.
With a medium-sized dog, you can keep several weeks, if not months, worth of food quite easily.
It definitely makes the food shop heavier when we're carting 12 kilograms of dog food around.
Yeah, and the big bulky bags of hay and straw can be a real pain to lug all the way back to the boat.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we had to get roof boxes, just to store all the pet stuff. We got 3 roof boxes, 2 of them are full of pet stuff.
We order it in bulk, and it's a mixture of sort of pigeon, like rabbit, salmon, and hare, and sort of that sort of those gamey meats. And yeah, we just sort of portion it out and then freeze most of it, and so we alternate that every time they need to eat. So yeah, they're on a completely raw diet.
We've tried various different cat litters and we have our favourite cat litter product, and so we would have to make sure that we would buy that in bulk, and then you've got to store a ginormous 40-litre bag of cat litter somewhere, and the cat food, because you never want to run out of cat food.
The main two things we were looking for is a cruiser stern, so that way when we're out cruising about, Rufus can be sat with us on the deck and have his bed out and be comfortable. And then we wanted a boat with a big cratch area, because that's where the rabbit lives. So we wanted to make sure he's got plenty of room to have his own little space. So we wanted a long cratch and a long stern. The other thing was a reverse layout, because we knew he would get muddy when we was going on those walks. So to not be coming through the bedroom, to be able to use the stern doors.
Yeah.
You've got to think about walking past cat food down your narrow corridor. Where are you going to put the water? Because the water, it really can't be near the food. And then also kitty litter and tracking kitty litter through the boat. And then also, where's the cat going to sleep as well? So like, are there high up places where they can get away from people because they don't want to be at your foot level? Because the other reason they don't want to be at your foot level is because you're underwater and it's cold.
If they tolerate each other and they don't spend any time together in the house, in the same room, then they might not appreciate living on a narrowboat together, because there's generally only 1 or 2 rooms, so where have they got to have as their own space? Our cats will sit in the same room together, but they're not best friends, and they're a lot happier having multiple areas to explore where they don't have to be on top of each other all the time. So that's always a consideration.
He has a fan on him, and we don't walk him nowhere near as much as we would do normally. He literally will just go out to stretch his legs and then come back on the boat, because they overheat quicker than us, and they can't cool down as quick as we can. So he has a fan on him. He knows where the fan is. He generally goes in the bedroom, which is the coolest part, and the fan blows down there to him, and we just leave him, make sure he's got plenty of water and stuff.
Also, the places he favours to sleep are below the waterline. Yeah. So although the sides of the boat and the air in the boat is quite hot, it is considerably cooler right near the floor. Yeah.
Particularly with the heat wave that we had recently, that was actually quite a challenge. So we ended up having to sort of change where we were planning on going for a couple of weeks, diverted to go into a load of trees where it was just as cool as it could possibly be. And then we just did everything that we could to keep the boat as cool as possible. So we put foil on all the outsides of the windows. Rupee spent half of his time like in the sink,
just cooling down with cold water.
We often give him like an annual haircut as well, because he is quite fluffy, so we have to shave all that back to make sure that if a heat wave hits, he's ready. And then we just make sure that we've got like just plenty of food and everything to keep things cold, like frozen treats, that sort of thing.
With long-coated Border Collie on the towpath in the winter, it's no fun. So he has to be hosed down. Well, I use a watering can, and then dry him off, come in, and you can guarantee he'll shake over the television screen. So, yeah.
But just before winter a few months ago, we got this fab little device for washing his paws. You put some water in it, and it's open at one end, and you can give his feet a little wash before he comes on board. So that helps a little bit with keeping it cleaner.
They make a lot of mess. They definitely make a lot of mess. So they're both white. They've got white fur, so we can't have anything dark coloured in the boat. Any blankets is covered. Yeah. You have to sweep a lot more with mud that they bring in, but it's worth it.
And I also think, even though on a boat you have to be out and about all the time doing your facilities, dragging coal bags around, particularly with a dog, you still have to make sure that even if it's chucking it down and you're tired and you just want to go to bed, you've got to take him out on a walk, and there's no way around it.
On the muddy towpath in
the
the winter.
The towpath would be swamped and completely chocked with mud, but you've still got to do it.
The odd occasion Coco or Tofu will get stuck in the coal bucket, and that's all right for Coco, but when Tofu goes in there, she just comes out a different looking ferret. So it's the only thing with living on a boat really that I can say. And sometimes if Coco tries to escape, but it's fine. It doesn't happen often.
I would say that everybody out walking on the towpath with their dogs, I would say 50% of them don't expect to see a cat, because they're on the towpath and they're walking their dogs. So I think you do put your cats in a little bit more danger by putting them onto a boat. And so I think that you as a cat owner have to be 100% responsible for when you let your cat out, when you bring them back in, supervising them when they're out, the same as you would supervise your dog when it's out. and cleaning up after your cat when it's on the towpath as well. Like, those are just all responsible pet ownership things. It doesn't go out the window just because you have a cat, but just be really mindful that the cat's pulled up in a completely different district than what it's used to, and all the local dogs are not used to seeing a cat there. So you've got to be the vigilant person when you have your cat on board.
I can't imagine the boat now without them, and I think, there you go, Coco's got up on the side. Coco, come here.